Respect is a man's fuel. That statement may seem simple on the surface, but it carries a depth that most relationships overlook. For many men, respect is not just a preference, it's a necessity. It is what feeds his confidence, drives his ambition, and defines how he sees himself in the eyes of the woman he loves. When a man feels respected, you don't have to ask him to lead, love, or commit. He naturally steps into that role because he feels empowered. A lot of women are taught to seek love, but few are taught how to give respect, especially in ways a man can receive. The truth is, love and respect are deeply intertwined. A man doesn't feel loved unless he feels respected. You can cook for him, buy him gifts, tell him you love him all day, but if your words are cutting, your tone is belittling, or your actions make him feel inadequate, then all those loving gestures fall flat. To him, it all feels like noise if there's no respect behind it. Respect for a man shows up in the little things. How you speak to him in public, how you stand beside him in private, and how you handle conflict. If every disagreement turns into an attack, a competition, or a reminder of what he's not doing right, you're draining the very fuel he needs to show up for you. You don't have to agree with everything he does, but the way you disagree matters. You can challenge a man without tearing him down. You can hold him accountable without stripping him of his dignity. When you approach him with grace and clarity instead of criticism and contempt, he will not only hear you, he will want to grow for you. When a man knows he has a woman in his corner who respects him, he moves differently. He doesn't seek validation elsewhere. He doesn't shrink in the face of adversity. He gets up earlier, works harder, thinks longer, because he wants to be better, not just for himself, but for the woman who sees greatness in him. That kind of support becomes his motivation. It becomes his power source. Too often we assume that a man's ego is fragile, but it's not fragility, it's wiring. He is wired to lead, to fix, to provide, to protect. And when he senses that he's failing in your eyes, when he feels disrespected or constantly questioned, it chips away at his ability to be those things. A man who feels like he's constantly under attack at home will eventually shut down. He may stop communicating, stop trying, or worse, walk away. Not because he doesn't care, but because he no longer feels like he can win. Men don't always have the emotional vocabulary to say, "I need you to respect me." Instead, they show it. They pull away, they get quiet, they lose drive. But when you lift him up with your words, when you trust him even in uncertainty, when you say thank you instead of finally, you are pouring fuel into his soul. That kind of woman becomes unforgettable. Respect also means giving him space to be himself. Let him talk without interruption. Let him vent without trying to fix everything. Allow him moments of silence without assuming something's wrong. Trust that he's thinking, processing, and handling things in his way. Men don't always move at the emotional speed women do, but that doesn't mean they aren't deeply feeling. Your patience is part of your respect. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that love will fix everything. But love without respect is hollow. You cannot love a man in a way that demeans him, controls him, or makes him feel small. That's not love. That's fear dressed up in affection. When you truly respect a man, you give him the room to grow into the man he's supposed to be. You believe in him when he doubts himself. You speak to the king in him even when he's acting like a pauper. Every man wants to be seen, heard, and honored. Respect is how you give him that honor. It's not about worship or submission, it's about recognition. It's about letting him know that Who he is, what he does, and how he shows up matters. And when a man feels respected, he rises every single time. Encouragement unlocks his best version. That's not just a phrase. It's a truth that holds the power to transform a man's spirit, his path, and ultimately his relationship. A man may be strong, focused, and ambitious on his own, but the right words from the right woman at the right time, that can push him past his limits. When a woman encourages a man with sincerity, consistency, and belief, she doesn't just support him. She activates a deeper version of him that even he may not have fully discovered yet. Every man carries dreams, pressures, doubts, and fears he doesn't always speak about. Society expects him to be solid all the time, strong, logical, unaffected. But behind that armor is someone who silently hopes that someone believes in him, that someone sees him not only for who he is today, but who he could become. Encouragement, real encouragement, is what fills that silent need. It isn't just compliments. It's reassurance. It's emotional fuel. It's a gentle reminder that even when the world is on his shoulders, he's not carrying it alone. There's something powerful about hearing, "I'm proud of you," from a woman he respects. It's more than validation, it's restoration. It tells him that his efforts are not invisible, that what he does, even the small things, matters to someone. It tells him that he's not just working, grinding, and enduring for nothing. Encouragement gives him direction, clarity, and a reason to keep going when life gets heavy. Men may not always ask for it, but they always feel its absence when it's not there. A man who feels encouraged becomes more focused, more driven, and more loyal. He doesn't need to prove himself to the outside world when the woman he loves already sees him as enough. That kind of encouragement doesn't inflate his ego, it stabilizes his soul. It gives him the courage to take risks, to step into new roles, to face challenges with faith instead of fear. And that courage is often born in the quiet moments, when she chooses to uplift him instead of criticize, to speak life instead of point out flaws. Some women think they have to fix a man, but the truth is, most men don't need fixing, they need believing. A man who is constantly criticized will shrink. He'll second-guess himself. He may even start to disconnect emotionally. But a man who is constantly encouraged, he'll expand. He'll rise into his purpose with a fire in his chest because he knows that someone sees his potential even when results haven't shown up yet. That kind of support builds legacy, not just love. Encouragement also means standing with him in the process, not just celebrating the outcome. If he's building a business, support him even when it's small. If he's chasing a dream, remind him of his talent on the days he doubts it. Don't just cheer when the check clears. Cheer when he's grinding after hours with tired eyes. Let him hear, "You got this," from you when he doesn't hear it from anyone else. That's when encouragement becomes powerful. Not when it's easy, but when it's needed most. Sometimes encouragement isn't loud. Sometimes it's just silence when he's struggling. Sometimes it's a warm meal and a soft place to rest his mind. Sometimes it's letting him know that he doesn't have to carry everything alone, that you trust his leadership, but you're also right there next to him, ready to support. A man like that doesn't forget the woman who believed in him when things weren't pretty. He doesn't leave the woman who watered his dry season. He cherishes her, protects her, and builds with her. The woman who encourages doesn't lose her strength. She multiplies it. She becomes his partner, his peace, his backbone. Her words become his inner voice on the days he forgets who he is. Her belief becomes his shield when doubt creeps in. And when he wins, it's her victory too, because he knows she was part of the reason he got there. Men are often taught to be providers, protectors, and performers, but underneath all that, they still need one thing most of all: someone who believes in them. Encouragement is the quiet force that shapes great men, not because it changes who they are, but because it gives them the courage to fully become it. Don't use his vulnerability against him. That sentence should be a rule in every relationship, written in bold across every woman's heart. Because when a man opens up, when he lowers the armor he's been wearing his whole life, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a rare act of courage. Men are not taught to express pain, fear, or uncertainty. They're taught to tough it out, keep it inside, and man out there. So when a man chooses to be vulnerable with a woman, it means he trusts her with something sacred. He's showing her a side of himself the world rarely sees. And what she does with that moment will shape the way he loves, leads, and lives from that day forward. A man may be strong on the outside, but that strength doesn't mean he's invincible. Underneath that calm demeanor is a human being with insecurities, scars, and stories he might never speak of unless he feels completely safe. When a man says, "This hurt me," or "I struggle with this," or even just goes quiet and withdrawn, what he needs most is understanding, not judgment. He's not looking for someone to fix him, he's looking for someone to see him, to sit with him in the silence, to remind him that he's still worthy of love, even in the moments when he feels less than. What destroys a man faster than failure is betrayal from the one person he lets see behind the mask. It's devastating when vulnerability is later weaponized in arguments, used as sarcasm, or thrown back at him when tensions rise. That's not just emotional harm, it's emotional warfare. It teaches him that honesty is dangerous and emotions are liabilities. And once he learns that, he will shut down. He may still love, but from a distance. He may still stay, but without passion. He may still stay, but without truly showing up. Men often suffer in silence because they fear their struggles will be seen as signs of weakness. And sadly, some women, intentionally or not, confirm that fear. They mock, dismiss, or belittle the very emotions they once said they wanted. And when that happens, a man learns to suffer in silence again, but this time he suffers not just from life's pressures, but from the loss of emotional safety in his own relationship. When a man feels safe to be vulnerable, it transforms everything. It deepens trust, creates emotional intimacy, and builds an unshakable bond. He starts to see the relationship not just as a place to love, but as a place to heal. A man like that won't just open up once. He'll grow, reflect, and show up stronger because he knows he has a partner who won't shame his truth. That kind of emotional safety is more powerful than physical attraction, more valuable than money, more lasting than chemistry. It's rare, but when it exists, it's unbreakable. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's honesty, and honesty requires bravery. When a man tells you about his childhood wounds, his current fears, his past mistakes, or his quiet dreams, he's not looking for perfection in response, he's looking for presence, for a soft place to land, for a calm voice in the storm. He needs to know that his low points don't make him any less of a man in your eyes, that crying doesn't make him weak, that needing help doesn't make him less masculine, that being open doesn't make him someone you'll use as a punchline when you're angry. Trust is built in those moments when he exposes his soul and sees that you're still standing right there, looking at him with love, not judgment. And from that trust comes loyalty, dedication, and emotional depth that no game, no manipulation, no rules of attraction can ever produce. Because once a man knows his heart is safe with you, you'll get the version of him that's raw, real, and ready. The one who shows up without walls. The one who protects your peace because you protected his. So if a man tells you about his darkest days, listen. If he confesses a fear, honor it. If he shows emotion, hold it. Not every man knows how to say, "I need you." Sometimes vulnerability is his way of asking for love. Handle it with care, because once it's broken, it's hard for him to ever show it again. The strongest men carry the heaviest burdens, and when they finally set them down in front of you, the last thing they need is to be crushed beneath your reaction. Be gentle, be present. Be the reason he believes that vulnerability doesn't have to end in regret. Stop bringing past hurt into present love. That's a truth many don't want to hear but desperately need to. Love doesn't thrive in a space that's still crowded with old wounds, broken trust, and unresolved pain. Carrying your past into your present relationship is like punishing someone for a crime they didn't commit. You're reacting to what they haven't done, responding to pain they didn't cause, and expecting them to fix what someone else broke. That's not love. That's fear disguised as protection. When you enter something new with the memory of betrayal still sitting in the front row of your heart, you rob your relationship of the chance to grow freely. You analyze text like evidence. You question intentions before actions. And you expect disappointment before love even has the chance to show itself. And while your walls might keep you from getting hurt again, they also keep you from truly experiencing connection, trust, and the depth of intimacy. No one wants to compete with your past. No one wants to feel like they're constantly being compared to your ex, your trauma, or the worst days of your life. Love requires presence. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. If part of you is still stuck in what they did, what they said, or how they left, then you're only halfway in. And being halfway in doesn't protect you. It slowly destroys what could have been whole. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning the lesson without bringing the bitterness into something that deserves a clean slate. It means recognizing the difference between a red flag and a reminder of your old pain. Not every disagreement is disrespect. Not every delay is disloyalty. Not every quiet moment is the beginning of the end. Sometimes it's just life. But if you're filtering your new love through the lens of your old heartbreak, even the purest intentions will start to look suspicious. And here's the thing. Love is a risk. There's no way around it. You can't love halfway and expect it to feel whole. You can't tiptoe around vulnerability and expect depth. You have to let go of what happened back then, not because it didn't matter, but because it's no longer serving you now. Holding on to hurt doesn't protect your heart. It hardens it. And eventually it punishes the one person who's trying to do right by you. It's okay to acknowledge what you've been through. Your pain is real. Your scars are valid. But make sure you're not holding today's love hostage for yesterday's mistakes. Don't interrogate your partner like they're already guilty. Don't accuse them of lying just because someone else once did. Don't withhold love or affection just because vulnerability once led to disappointment. That's not fair. And deep down, you know it. You know when your reactions are more about the past than the present. You feel it in your gut when you're not giving them the benefit of the doubt. You hear it in your tone when you're being defensive over something that hasn't even happened. The love in front of you deserves better than the hurt behind you. It deserves a chance to be different, to be healthy, to be healing. But it won't get there if every step forward is met with suspicion, if every kind gesture is questioned, and if every apology is weighed against a memory that doesn't belong to them. You have to choose to trust again, not blindly but boldly. You have to choose to believe that not everyone will hurt you, that not every love will end in pain, and that just maybe, this time, it's safe to let go. When you heal, you don't just free yourself, you free your partner to love you the way you were always meant to be loved. Without barriers, without preconditions, and without the pressure to be someone else's redemption story. They're not there to clean up someone else's mess. They're there to build something new with you, something sacred, something that only works if you stop making the present pay for the past. You owe it to yourself to experience love without the weight of yesterday. You owe it to your partner to let them love the real, present, whole version of you, not the guarded, suspicious, halfway there version still tied to old wounds. Love requires you to show up fully, openly, willingly, not as someone who's afraid of being hurt again, but as someone brave enough to believe they still deserve the kind of love that doesn't hurt at all.